If you view life through the lens of gratitude, then you really have the opportunity to bend the arc of history in your life in the right direction and set an example for others to follow, to capture their desired aspirations and come to a place of true unity and understanding for all. Julie Hilsen is the author of Life of Love, A Joyful Guide of Self and Sensuality. Julie shares her passion for living a life full of passion and magic. It's a book about a powerful journey of self-discovery and finding joy in living everyday life. Hilsen joined me this week to have an in-depth discussion about personal development, living a joyful life, and maximizing every moment. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to be with you to talk about life and character development this afternoon. Great to see you, and thank you so very much for being here.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So, Julie, I'm fascinated to start our conversation by asking you, what does it mean to you to live your life with passion, purpose, and joy?
Oh, that's a big question. I think it changes every day, right? I mean, depends on how you're feeling this day. And I guess in general, it means living from your heart. It means following your purpose. I mean, your purpose is something that drives your everyday patterns. I mean, a lot of times you can get distracted, or you can fall away from your purpose and maybe get frustrated. But I think as long as you're living from your heart and your purpose, you can have joy and passion. And then it changes, depending on what's needed of you, and what the universe brings to you, and how you react.
Yeah, absolutely. And Julie, tell me, how do you define your own professional and personal passion?
Oh, I define it by how much happiness I can have. I mean, I try to live in a high vibration. And, if I feel like I'm away from my purpose and passion, I tend to get frustrated. Can you relate to that?
It's important to me to have personal motivation to stay grounded and motivated to achieve. Isn't that the truth?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I agree with you. As long as you have your goal and you know what you're working toward, you can recharge, right? And like you said, to be grounded, that being grounded is like probably the most important thing. And when you're grounded, you can find your center. And then when you're tipping away from your center, you can hopefully catch yourself and come back. And I think that's the art of living, is when you feel yourself, wobbling, to catch yourself and, maybe not go as far off as you did last time. And, have that compassion for yourself, that everybody falls down, and give yourself the grace that you'd give your grandmother or your pet or your little boy who's frustrated. Tune into your inner child and treat yourself the way you'd treat a best friend. I think that's a huge thing to fulfill your purpose, is to just understand there's no shame in making a mistake. It's just how you pick yourself back up. And to me, in professionalism, everybody needs to be accountable. And if we can get everyone accountable, then people aren't going to throw other people under the bus or blame someone when things don't go the way they, everyone has a vision, right? And things will come in, and these things will keep coming in until you own them yourself. So if you see repeating patterns, or, oh, these people keep letting me down. Well, maybe you're the victim. Maybe you're letting yourself down. Maybe you need more accountability. So that's something that I really try to impose. If someone asks me a question, I try to give them some feedback. Like, if you really feel like people are letting you down, look at yourself. Maybe you're letting yourself down, and it's easier to blame someone else, right?
Yeah, and just building on that point, Julia, I think for me personally, I look at stumbles now. We obviously try to minimize them, but I look at stumbles as a way of growth, because I think with experience comes knowledge, right? So I'm wondering your thoughts too on embracing stumbles in life in order to grow as well.
Right. And understand, like, your biggest challenges, or the things that you think make you different from everyone else, those are your gifts. Like, if you can tune in to the things that you're like, man, why am I so different? Why don't people understand me? Or why do I feel like nobody gets me? That those things that you think are stumble blocks, or that you think are disadvantages, those are actually where you can dig in to figure out your true gifts, because your differences are what make your life important to the tapestry of the whole group. Because we're all here, part of the big picture. We're all, it sounds corny, but we are all one. We all feed off each other's energy. We're all needed. The fact that you woke up this morning, that we're both here, is a divine calling. And as soon as people can understand that they're divine beings of light and we're all needed, then the world's going to start to vibrate at a different place.
It certainly does make a big difference. And tell me, Julie, that congratulations is in order, because your debut book, you're using it as a powerful tool for self-discovery and finding joy in everyday life. So I'm wondering if you could tell me all about it. I'm fascinated.
Oh, thank you. That book is that was my COVID. Some people had children. That was my COVID baby.
And this podcast was mine. So.
Oh, congratulations, Kevin! It's beautiful. I was catching up on some of your episodes, and you're just an amazing podcaster. I couldn't wait to be a guest on your show, because you just bring out magic. Talk about magic. You have it.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, and for your generous words, yeah. And I want to know all about your book, so tell me about it. What's it about? What's it called? What do I need to know?
Okay, it's called Life of Love, A Joyful Guide to Self and Sensuality. And it's good. It's juicy. I love it. And I can't take all the credit. I got quiet and I asked higher self. I asked my angels. I said, hey, what can I do to help this world heal? Because we're all having some hard times. And there are a lot of things in my life that I drew from to write this book. It has 3 parts. And the first part is about getting to know your light, getting to know your soul and your joy. And I have activities and worksheets, crossword puzzles. And then the second part is about taking care of your body. How to, because if you want to have a life of love, you have to take care of your body. You can't ignore that your spirit is in this vessel that it's up to us to take care of ourselves. We have one body, and our body gives us signals. So that's the second part. And the third part is how you use your wonderful body to connect to other people and to have more sensuality and dynamic relationships. And it's not just about being in relationship like with another person. It's also like, being a good mom and being a good employer and good employee, just all dynamics of relationships. But we do get into some intimacy things. And everything that I suggest that people try to do or explore, there's a devotion where you ask the angels to help you. Because I think a lot of people want to connect to their angels, their higher self, their inner God, goddess, Jesus. People want to connect, but they don't know the words. So I give them the words in devotions, and I have messages that I got from the Council of Light that I wrote in, and it's a beautiful book. And I just hope it can help a few people and just be something that people can use to, I don't know how to say it, explore their spirituality in a non-threatening, personal way.
Yeah, fabulous.
Yeah.
And tell me, did you find the experience of writing the book personally empowering?
Absolutely. Yes. I worked with a writing coach, and she was amazing. This woman, she's from Canada too. She helped me, Shauna, and I gave her a shout out in the book, so anyone can look her up. Then I haven't held the book in my hands yet. It's coming out in the next month. So it should be by the end of June, I should be able to have a copy in my hand. But I know as soon as I hold that copy, I might just lose it for a minute because I'm going to be so, it's just been a lot of, my whole life I've felt like I needed to share and I want to help. And I've always felt connected to the angels. And so it was a blessing. It really was. And so I hope it continues to be a blessing. And it's gotten me out of my comfort zone. Like I'd never be on a podcast with you if I didn't want to share my message, right? Like I'd be doing my regular thing. So I just adore that I get to meet people like you and be on podcasts and have conversations. So
yeah, absolutely. It's a tremendous accomplishment. You have my most sincere of congratulations, Julie. It's a great milestone in your life. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yes, it is a milestone, and hopefully many, many happy things will, come out of it. And, it's another step in living a life of love and joy. And, we're all here try to do better than we did yesterday. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Julie, anyone that may be watching or listening to this, I'm curious to ask you about how you define gratitude and self-fulfillment, and how do you think we can set our own standard of excellence?
Mm-hmm. Oh, those are some big questions. I could write a book on that one, Kevin.
Just give me credit and when you dedicate the book, okay?
Dedicate the book.
No, I'm kidding.
No, of course. Gratitude's, that's one of those things where and I talk about this in my book, the secret is to have gratitude for even the littlest things. So the hot water that comes out of your sink,
it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes and this might seem weird, but I'll turn on the hot water and be like, I just got hot water. And I'll just be so grateful for that hot water. And even in my book, I talk about washing the dishes. If you really experience the suds on your hands and the fact that you took this dirty dish and you just transformed it into something shiny and clean. And I mean, it's just about being grateful for the things that you might take for granted, or just noticing, like, the ultimate gratitude is waking up every day. We're these divine souls that have this chance in our human body to experience life on earth. And I do believe that we get, if we're lucky, we get several incarnations. So that's a whole nother episode. But I mean, just appreciating the things that you might just, if you're not tuned in, you might take for granted. So, just walking outside and hearing the birds singing to you. I pretend they're singing just for me. I'd say they show up just for me.
Yeah, just as a point of personal privilege, I use the birds every morning as my personal alarm clock. So I never did it. No, So, I,
Yes, yes.
yeah, absolutely. So, if you'll indulge me for just a second, Julie, I'll share just a little bit about myself. So, about a big part of my personal passion is promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion because I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy. Simply means that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally, and a lot of people tell me that they view my life as an inspiration, but I simply tell them that I am living my life, and if I'm inspiration, that's great. But I'm also interested in continuing the conversation on how we break down barriers towards inclusion for folks with disabilities, because I truly believe that inclusion is the gateway to personal and professional independence. So I'm just wondering your thoughts on that motto and how do you think we can better incorporate individuals with disabilities into society at large?
Yeah, that's huge. And it's dear to my heart. I coach tennis to special needs people in my area.
Oh,
Um,
fabulous!
yeah, and
Yes.
we just did our first inter club where we went and played my players, and they're from the ages of 48 down to 9. And so they might have autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, these people, and they're always like, "Oh, Julie, thank you for giving back." And it's like, no, I totally get so much more from the people that I'm training than I think they get from me. Well, I think it's a two-way street. I think it's like you enter with an open heart and like you said, inclusion, but I don't even think it's inclusion. I think it's humanity. I mean, I really think it's like looking at each person as their valuable soul that they are. And it's not how they talk, it's not how they walk. It's just if we can get to the meat of it, it's like everybody being treated as a valuable soul being of light that they are.
Yeah,
And
and one of my other goals too, Julie, is really closing the gap of division and finding a way to create more unity and understanding in the world. Because I think if we can close the gap of division, we can really solve problems and make progress towards a more common good. So I'm wondering, how do you think we can facilitate a better feeling of unity and understanding?
well, I think a podcast like yours is really important because we all need to hear everyone's story. Everyone's story is important. So if all the people can come and bring their perspectives and we honor everyone's perspective, then there's going to be more inclusion and more unity. We can't ignore something that, maybe something makes us feel uncomfortable, but that's the important thing to say. What part of me is feeling uncomfortable? Because it's not you, it's that person that's uncomfortable and they need to deal with their stuff, right? And I always tell my kids, I always tell any of the athletes that I train, your difference is your gift. So if we can look at our differences, our challenges with inclusion, like we have so many resources available. It's just being open and using those resources to help each other. And I think it's going to take a lot of creativity. And the thing is, we're coming into a place where we're coming out of a place of patriarchy and we're coming into more of a age of Aquarius as far as creativity and breaking down old patterns. And I think we have an opportunity to really weave into our society, not just like a government mandate, but just a humanity, like this is important for humanity, not just for numbers or labels. It's got to come from the heart. It's got to come from the soul. It can't just be oh, you need to do this. You have to have a quota. I think quotas are, I don't know. I know we have to start somewhere. Do you know what I'm getting at?
I certainly do, and I think if we One of the mottos that I live my life by, Julie, is that everyone's portrait of success is different, and it doesn't always have to be aesthetically pleasing to be effective, right?
And a lot of times people are more free when they can just be themselves and not pretend that they're this porcelain person. I mean, if you can just be your real authentic self, everyone gets just so much more freedom of expression, right? Like just let it out, have joy, find laughter. Like when you fall, when you do something stupid, just laugh because we're all in this together. Like we all have our things. And the more you try to cover up your things, the worse it is. Like as soon as we can all just be honest with each other, the better we can be. That's my opinion. Is that
Yeah, absolutely, and you become more authentic that way, don't you?
I was you just took the word right out of my mouth. I was going to say authentic.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I know one of your authentic joys in life, Julie, is being a mom. So tell me, what's the best part about being a mom, and what lessons do you hope that your kids take away from your own life?
Mm. Well, I hope my kids learn the resiliency and the accountability. I'm definitely not perfect, and I when I mess up, I say, "Hey, I screwed up," and I wasn't always like that. I used to try to be that perfect porcelain person, and the biggest thing for me is to have citizens of the world to raise. I have two boys. I want them to be young men of compassion, of honor and strength. I don't want them to be like everyone else. I want them to cherish their differences and just support the world in their unique, authentic selves. And they the biggest part about being a mom is your kids often they know your weaknesses because they're part of you. Like I don't know if you know this, but actually the DNA of a child stays in a mom and for like 17 years.
I
So
didn't.
my
Yeah.
my kids are still technically my DNA, even though I'm not carrying them anymore. So like when they hurt, I feel it, and when they fight, I can feel it. And if I can teach them how to honor each other and and just cherish their relationships, treat everybody with honor and respect. That's a huge thing to me. And I feel like my boys get that. They don't have a ton of friends. They're not like super popular kids, but I feel like the friends they have strong relationships with. And everybody has their path, so we just have to keep honoring each person's path. And you know I
Yeah.
rambled a little, but
No, that's totally fine. And Julie, you talk about the telepathy of being a mom and being connected. I will also share with you that I have an identical twin brother. So Keith and I were born together, and my brother also was born with a cerebral palsy, but he grew out of his when we were 4 months old. So having a sense of connection is important to family, isn't it?
yes, yes. And are you and your brother close?
We are, yeah. My brother, I'm actually about to lose. Well, not. He's about to move away. He got a job as an assistant professor down at Missouri State University. So we're throwing him a big going away party in the summer. So I'm sure it'll be emotional but exciting at the same time, right?
Right. I know you're proud of him too, and you always have
Yeah,
that twin connection.
yeah, absolutely. He's gone through almost 13 years of school and is almost at the finish line, Julie. So he's ready to do his victory lap, right?
Start making some money. Got to pay off those
Well,
student loan bills.
that's exactly right. And Julie, as we wrap up our time together, I'm curious to also ask you about any advice or encouraging words you would have to people about the importance of celebrating life and being present with the conversations and connections you make in life. So how important do you think it is to be present in life?
Uh, I think being present it's probably the most important thing, because if you're present, you can take in what the beauty, you can take in everything around you that's a gift. And if you lack your presence, if you're distracted, if you're feeling bombarded by whether it's your phone going off or other people's problems, if you can't find your grounded perspective of being present, then you're going to miss out on synchronicities, opportunities. And it's that being present is where it's at, because you're gonna see how the world's supporting you when you're present. And you can also sense when you need to do some self-care, because to me self-care is just as important as eating breakfast. Because if you can enter the world as your best self, honoring whatever's going on in your body, whatever's going through your head, honoring those things. If you push them down and you ignore them, then you're going to end up with some consequences, right? I mean, your presence can help you take care of your body and take care of what you need to do. And if you're not present, you're just being thrown around like a boat in an ocean without an oar or motor. If you're not present, you can't have any intention. You don't have any follow through. I think it all stems from being present.
Yeah, absolutely. And with your last answer, I interviewed a business CEO or last week. His name was David Irvin, and he said that when he thinks about his legacy, he thinks about the dash in between the year he was born and the year that he will die, because he tells me that it's not about the years on the tombstone, it's about the dash in the middle. So I'm curious about when you define your dash in the middle. What do you think about your legacy and how you want it to be defined?
I just love that dash in the middle. What a great visual. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I wake up every day and I invite the angels in to show me my highest good. And I ask God to use me to bring out the best in the world. And as long as I can keep doing that, my dash is going to matter. I can lay down at night and say I did everything I could, and I tried to listen to what God was telling me to do and be present in the ways. And I'm not saying it's like I'm doing I'm not doing open brain, surgery, and I'm not saving lives. But I think that the universe presents your way to make the world a better place. It
And
doesn't
that's,
have to be grandiose. Sometimes just being there and smiling at somebody is what God wants you to do.
yeah, sometimes celebrating diversity of perspectives it gives us a good view of life and the strength of the strengths that we may not have as people, right?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, somebody who's struggling to walk, or somebody who's struggling to, do something you take for granted, and you can see them have such joy. And then you're like, it just brings you back to your center, like, oh my gosh, I take so much for granted. And here this person is so happy and so full of life and joy. And I'm being an idiot about, whatever my bank account didn't balance, or I don't know, like maybe I'm annoyed that, my son won't brush his hair, but, my son is walking around and he's healthy. It's like, it's all about perspective, right? So, if you can bring yourself back to that gratitude and, knowing that everybody, even if their life looks perfect, everybody's going through things. But I do think there's people on this earth that rise above any kind of perceived boundaries or barriers, and they just shine, and they're there for a really good reason, is to let everyone else know who's taking for granted what they have, to sit back and be like, okay, I've got this, like things. I don't need to be so selfish. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely. And finally, Julie, quickly tell me if people want to get connected with the great work that you do, what's the best way they can do that?
I have a website. It's www.youneedapeptalk.com.
That's a fabulous name for a website, by the way.
Yeah, I've had it for a long time, and it's changed. It was started out something totally different than it is now, but I'm on there, and you can contact me for interviews or podcasts, and you can find out more about my book on there. I'm also on Instagram as J Hilsen, JHILSEN, and we found each other on Podmatch, so that was great.
I always tell people, Julie, that life is a constant game of connection, isn't it?
Yes, and I love that. There's this big crystalline grid across the earth, and we're connected to each other. The trees are all connected under the earth, and there's crystals in the earth, and we're all playing around in this crystalline grid, and we can't see it, but I believe the animals can feel it, and at a subconscious level we feel it. And I just love that, and I try to share with people that they have so many things around them, so many opportunities, and all we need to do is, like you said, be present and tune in. So I love how we have a lot of the same philosophies. We come at from different angles, but I really appreciate how our message is sort of, like you said, connect. It's all about connecting.
And aligning, absolutely. Well, I'm thrilled that we had a chance to align with this conversation on personal development and life growth. Julie, I really want to thank you for your time this afternoon and for your expertise in the space. It's most appreciated, and I want to thank you for being here this afternoon.
I want to thank you, Kevin. I really love this container you've made to make a difference and bridge the gap of any kind of exclusion. Like we all want to feel important and part of the whole picture, and you're helping do that, and it takes bravery and fortitude and spirit, and I commend you. I think you're amazing.